Tricia Shirey and Barbara Weiss swap a few shady ideas under the pecan trees at Lake Austin Spa.
Now, pecans are some of the last to leaf out in the spring and the first to lose their leaves in the fall. So we actually have a long period of months where we get a really nice filtered sun. So in the early spring, we have daffodils and tulips and Dutch iris, but then later on, all of these other plants fill out and really take over. We have a variety of textures. This holly fern is just one of the bulletproof shade plants, very drought tolerant actually. And occasionally we'll get some freeze damage, and you just cut those damaged leaves off and it comes right back. And then there are all different ferns besides the holly fern that do extremely well in shade.
What would you say is the toughest plant here in the shade garden?
Well, probably the aptly named cast iron plant. It's absolutely drought tolerant. We use it in flower arrangements all the time. It's a great filler plant. It will sometimes get some damaged leaves. You cut those down to the ground, it just comes right back.
Speaking of textures, I love how you have added in different grasses in here. What did you call this? The
Mexican feather grass.
Mexican feather grass, little stipa grass.
Which seeds itself everywhere too. All of the different sedges do really well in the shade, and I love the sun sparkler to have that bright pop of white. The beautyberry is always one of the stars of the show in the fall. Now right now it's got lots of blooms along the stems, but those will be followed by clusters of magenta berries that are stunning and always a showstopper.
That makes a pretty combination to cut off a few branches of the holly ferns and then mix it with the beautyberry.
And actually the beautyberry, I recently learned, even repels mosquitoes. So you can rub yourself with the leaves and keep the mosquitoes off.
Various mahonias, like Oregon grape, texturize in dry shade.
Just the leaf itself is interesting, but then it has beautiful flowers on it, and it's got gorgeous berries, and it's got an interesting history behind it too. Lewis and Clark actually discovered it when they first went out to the west and brought it back. Tricia, you know, one of the things that I love in my own garden is attracting hummingbirds. So, but I have a lot of shade.
Shrimp plant is fabulous, the Turk's cap, and we have the pink, the white, and the red Turk's cap, and they all do beautifully here. There are quite a few things that you can grow in the shade that are still going to attract pollinators and provide interest for wildlife. Another plant that I really love, Cestrum, and it has a beautiful gold flower. Now it blooms more readily in the sun.
You know, one of the things that I learned the first time I was here is that you can grow different salvias in the shade. I always thought that was a full sun plant. And
well, here in Central Texas, it kind of appreciates a little break from the heat of the sun. Now, some of them, like the Salvia gregii, don't bloom quite as well in the shade, but the Salvia guernica does absolutely beautifully, really takes the shade quite well, and it's such a great butterfly and hummingbird plant. It's an excellent one to grow. And then I like having it combined with the columbine, which fills out and does its thing earlier on in the spring, and then the guernica just kind of takes over and takes the columbine's place when it goes somewhat dormant in the summer.
We call it black and blue salvia, and in the shade in Tennessee, and it was amazing how many more hummingbirds and that got attracted to my garden.
There are different things that are going to have their time in the limelight.
I like the society garlic. Now, you were telling me something that you learned about the society garlic along the way.
I love the flower color, and I had a lot of it in guest entry rooms and those kinds of areas. And what I learned was when we had a hard freeze, the plant smells like a skunk. And so people thought that we had skunks here, but it was really just the frozen society garlic. So I have moved most of that out of the public areas, but I still have it here and there in some of the shady gardens. But it's a fun plant and beautiful flowers that are also edible.
Yeah, the flowers on them are gorgeous and really long lasting.
Thanks for walking on the shadier side of Lake Austin Spa with me.
Thanks, Tricia. I love coming here, and this is one of my favorite places to visit.